everyone, it's Taylor. Welcome back to my channel. I'm an American expat living in Malaysia, and I like to share my life and travels with you. Well, today I'm going to talk about my cost of living in 2025 in Malaysia and compare it to what it would be in the USA for me. Sound interesting? Stay tuned. Okay, well, there's been a few changes since last year, as you all well know if you follow my channel closely. First of all, I moved to a more expensive apartment here in Kuala Lumpur. Second, I sold my condo in Florida. But for illustration purposes today, I'm going to pretend I still own my condo and compare the cost of living here to what it would cost me to live in my condo that I just sold. So I'm using the same chart that I used before in other years. So it'll be pretty much the same as my other cost of living videos. First of all, you know I moved, and that was mostly because I didn't want stairs in my apartment anymore. And boy, am I glad I did. I'm loving my new place. Also, I sold my condo, and that was for a few reasons. One, I don't think I'm ever going to go back to the US, but I might. But in that case, I'll just figure it out then. But everything in the US keeps going up and up and up and up. My goodness, my condo fee, my taxes, my insurance, it was all just going up so much, especially being in Florida with the hurricanes. And I guess I could have kept increasing the rent up and up and up too, but I had such great tenants that I didn't want to do that. So I was getting $1,150 a month rent for my condo in Clearwater, Florida. But out of that, with all my expenses, with the condo being completely paid for and no mortgage, I only had a profit of $371 a month. That's crazy, I think. So I decided to sell it, and luckily it sold right away. Not for top dollar, the market's not that great right now. But I still got way more than I paid for it, more than double. So I'm going to compare the costs associated here in my apartment in Kuala Lumpur that I rent, comparing it to my condo in Florida, assuming I didn't sell it and I still live there. So let's get started, shall we? First, we'll start with rent. Rent is the #1 expense for most people. So as you can see on the chart, I would be paying $929 a month for my condo in Florida. Well, you would say, that seems high since you didn't have any mortgage. And I say, you're right, but the condo fee is $363. You know, it's about, I don't remember exactly, but between the taxes and insurance, it comes up to $929 a month. Well, that's way more than I pay here. With the current exchange rate, my apartment in Kuala Lumpur now costs me $651 a month. Now, if you remember from last year, my apartment here in KL only cost me a little over $400 a month. So that's a significant increase. But I felt comfortable with it. Now let's talk about electric. Now, I always got my electric bills for my condo in Florida and just told the tenants or sent a screenshot of what the bill was for them to add to their rent. But generally, it averaged about $150 a month. Now remember, this is a 660 square foot apartment, so not big. So that's kind of high. Now that's one thing, my electric bill has gone down here in my new apartment in Kuala Lumpur compared to my old one. My old one had no chance for cross ventilation or anything like that. The air cons were old and really inefficient. And so I had to run them just about all the time. So I was talking about, oh gosh, over $100 a month for that. But now in my new apartment, my electric bill is averaging $69 a month. Now that's kind of high for Malaysia, but I do run the aircon quite a bit. I do open it up a lot and get the lovely cross ventilation, but still, it's way cheaper than it would be in Florida. Next, we have the water bill, which is negligible here. And I'm combining the water and the sewage in this instance. And that costs me about $10 a month. Now, in Florida, as you can see, there's no charge because that's included in the condo fee. Now, I want to point out that I did some research to figure out what the prices would be in the US. since I haven't lived there in 10 years, I really don't know firsthand. But I do know it's pretty easy to Google and figure out, an average price. So the next line item is broadband. Now, I found an average broadband cost in the US was $78 a month. Well, I pay $35 a month here in Malaysia, and that is for fiber optic, oh my gosh, lightning fast internet. You just wouldn't believe it. I have friends that come over here just to use my internet. So that's not a big expense at all. Now, I don't have cable TV here. I just basically live with Netflix and YouTube. Everybody watches YouTube, right? I mean, I can keep up with the news on YouTube, I think. I do miss some of the shows that I don't see on network television anymore, but some of those get on Netflix eventually. So anyway, Netflix is a big part of my life. And in the US, the average cost of Netflix is $25 a month. Now here in Malaysia, it's $12 a month. So half as much. That's pretty good. Now, as you can see on the chart, food is my largest expense. And that figure for the US, I'm just carrying over from here because I have no idea what it would be in the US now. Probably more than that, but I wouldn't be able to eat out as much. I eat out several times a week. Oh my gosh, maybe as many as 6. And it's not always at the Mama or someplace really cheap. I do go to some rather expensive places for Malaysia. And the groceries aren't that cheap either. So that's why this is such a high figure, $1,096 a month. Whoa! But I do want to point out that a lot of the meals and a lot of the cooking are for 2 people. I'm not just living alone all the time. And I don't go out to eat alone all the time. And I'm a generous guy. So anyway, in both the budgets, the food is the most expensive line item. I said it was the rent, but I was wrong about that. Now, I have started going to a more local grocery store instead of the high-end grocery store. For one thing, it's more convenient to park. We'll get into that in a minute because I have a car now. But it's just less expensive, it's smaller, it's easier to find things, I think. I am saving a bit of money by going to the local grocery store. Okay, car insurance and road tax. Well, mine's gone up considerably because I now have a car instead of just my motorcycle. And I didn't include the motorcycle in this cost because it's so negligible. Plus, I think I'm gonna sell it. I haven't even started it in like 3 months. It needs a new battery, and as soon as I get that battery, I think I'm gonna sell it. Because I'm just not using it. And as I've said before, I just wasn't feeling as confident on it as I used to be. I mean, I am 71 years old now. So anyway, I did some research and found the average price of the car insurance in the US is about $200 a month. And that's assuming I would have a car there. I'm not sure I could afford one. I guess I could buy one and have it all paid for like it is here, so there's no loan payment on my car. And let's say that would be the same in both places. So it would be $200 a month in the USA and $40 a month here in Malaysia. Quite a substantial savings. Now, I have to admit, the car insurance is not as great here as it is in the US. I mean, it covers basically the car and any damage you do for other people. But I'm not sure it would cover any hospital costs if I got hurt in an accident. I think that's where my health insurance would kick in. But I'm not sure about that. And in the US, you do generally have coverage for that. Another huge difference is the petrol. Now, I'm spending more on petrol than I used to. Oh my goodness. I was spending like $3, $4 a month with my motorcycle. And it's gone up considerably from that because the car does use a lot more petrol. But that said, the petrol price here is way less than the US. From my research, I see that petrol costs about $3 an hour average in the US. And here, it's $2 a gallon. Quite a savings. And it's government controlled. So you pay the same price no matter which gas station you go to. So I figured I'd spend about $70 a month on petrol in the US. And I spend about $32 a month here. That's like less than half. Okay, now let's talk about health insurance. Now, I have Medicare in the US, and I've never used it because I haven't lived there since I've been 65. So I don't know a lot about Medicare. I only know that if I had Part B, which I would have if I lived there, that would cost me like $165 a month. Now I know there's other things you can add on, like Part D that covers medication and stuff. You know, that's all kind of confusing for me. But let's just say $165 for my Medicare Part B would take care of most of it. While here, and I want to remind you, I don't have great health insurance here either, but it's only $85 a month. Can't beat that, really. Now I'll remind you that only covers hospitalization, and I pay the first 3,000 ringgit, or $750, and then it kicks in after that. Plus it's only a 15-year policy, and when I'm 80, it's over with, so I'll be on my own then, provided I'm still alive. Now medicine and supplements. I don't want to talk much about that because I really don't know what it would be in the US. I guess I would get Medicare Part D that would cover prescriptions. I don't know. You all know more about that than me. But anyway, let's figure $100 a month for medication in the US. I do take supplements too, like glucosamine and chondroitin and vitamin C. And I pay totally out of pocket. My insurance doesn't pay any for medicine here. And so it's more like $150 a month in Malaysia. So a bit more, I guess. But I can't really be 100% on that as I know so little about how Medicare works. Maybe you guys can explain it to me in the comments. Okay, the next cost is the cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody needs a cell phone, right? In the US, it would cost me about $140 a month from what I researched. Here it costs me $30 a month. That's a no-brainer, right? I don't really use it that much other than at home, and that's always on the Wi-Fi then. So you're not paying for any data or anything. So that's good. And the last expense I have listed, you know, and of course there's many more expenses I haven't talked about, minor things that come up here and there, buying clothes, whatever, that sort of thing, traveling. I don't budget that. That just sort of comes out of, I don't know, my savings mostly. But anyway, my last line item is house cleaning. Now, since I moved last July, I was cleaning this apartment myself until last month. And you know what? I just didn't enjoy it at all. Go figure. So I didn't think my old cleaning lady would want to come here because it's sort of hard to get to. But when I contacted her, she was happy to come back. And now I have her every 2 weeks, just like I did before. And boy, does it make my life easier, I can tell you that. And the apartment is way much cleaner too. So I don't really know house cleaning costs in the US. I'm going by what I paid when I lived there, which was $100 a time. So I figured $200 a month for twice a month. Here it's $50 a month for 2 times a month. So quite a bit cheaper. And I'm paying top dollar too. I'm not paying just the minimum. So now let's get to the total cost between the US and Malaysia for me. Now remember, this is all for me. Yours could be completely different. So in the US, my budget I just went over with you would cost $3,153 a month. While in Malaysia, it's $2,260 a month. Now that's a pretty big difference. But you know, mine, like I said, mine has gone up. I'm living in a more expensive apartment. I have a car now instead of a motorcycle. So my costs have gone up. So for my Malaysian viewers, that cost in Malaysian ringgit is 13,557.90 cents. That's kind of a lot. But in Malaysia, my costs are 9,718 ringgit a month. That's a pretty big difference. Okay, now let's talk about my income. You'll see on the budget, the income is the same in the US and Malaysia. Now, it didn't used to be that way because I was getting money from the rent, so my income was higher here. And I would lose that rent money if I was living in the unit, so that's why the incomes are the same. That's my Social Security and my YouTube earnings combined. So that's not a lot of money, but it's enough for me, as you can see. It comes out to $2,550 a month. And in Malaysia, that gives me $290 a month extra money, or spending money, or clothing money, or travel money, or whatever that, over 1,000 ringgit. While in the US, I would run a deficit of over $600 a month. So clearly, for me, it's still much less expensive for me to live in Malaysia. Plus, there's a few things that are even better. My apartment is way bigger and more glamorous. I'm in a city center. KL is a hub for all over Southeast Asia, and you could travel pretty much anywhere for a very reasonable cost, except Koh Samui, Thailand, which I pointed out in a recent video. So for those reasons and more, I'm going to stay in Malaysia for the foreseeable future. Probably the rest of my life, but I'm not sure. Well, I hope you got some information out of today's video. Once again, I remind you, this is my experience only. Yours would be totally different. If you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe, and check the notification bell too. That way you won't miss any of my future content. Also, buy me a coffee if you feel like it. I really appreciate that. And as I mentioned before, it's about half of my YouTube income. So it's really important, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. But that's all I have for today, everybody. I hope you got something out of it. I know it's kind of confusing to just throw numbers at you. That's why I had the charts, and maybe you could take a screenshot of that. So have a wonderful week, everybody. I'll see you next week. Talk to you later. Bye.